How are we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Shaun Attwood channel. I apologize about the delay, but we are finally live with Maverick ApproacH, delving into the Epstein files, delving into what brought him to, creating content, all of that stuff, the history of the man himself, and of course, what is happening around the world with the slow release of these Epstein files and the direction that the narratives all over the internet seem to be going with it. But Maverick, thanks for being here. Just for those of you who don't know, introduce yourself, and thanks so much for giving up your time.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. It's great to be here. And man, there's so much to uncover. I've started doing content a few years ago, just delving deep into these topics because there's a lot of weird things going on right now. And I feel like we need a lot of information. A lot of, things are, what we thought was true, what the media tells us seems to be something else, right?
Exactly.
So I always say the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is 6 to 12 months.
Right.
Okay. So,
right.
This is why I do these types of topics and these types of content and whatnot, because we need answers. So
right.
Yeah.
And when you came into creating content, were you still of the mindset that, I mean, were your eyes opened at that point, or have your eyes been opened as you've sort of journeyed through your content?
You know what? I've always thought this way, right?
Okay.
But the thing is, after 2020, it seems to have a great awakening. And I think that these topics are way more relevant now, and you don't seem so crazy now, because what we thought was, once again, is something else. And we're finding out all these things about the files. We're finding out disclosure with extraterrestrial beings, all these things that we thought were conspiracies. Now this seems to be the truth. So I've always had these thoughts. I've always had these types of thought-provoking topics and whatnot, but now it's more relevant than ever. So I can speak on this types of topics now, and a lot more other people can too.
I agree. It's people's understanding of these veils that have been put in front of us. The veils seem to be getting lifted. People seem to be awakening to it all. And the Epstein files being released, it's been a long time coming. We had a lot of theatrics with politicians holding up folders and all this kind of stuff. What have you where would you like to start with the whole Epstein story and the release of these files? Take us to where you started covering it, or where you feel you want to jump in on it. I think that's probably the best course of action.
There's a lot. I think that we can start where the eugenics and the bioengineering, kind of things that he was into, because a lot of people may or may not know about that. Now,
okay, yeah, let's take it away. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so he had deep ties to Harvard. A lot of people may or may not know that. He donated millions of dollars to Harvard, right? And the whole trafficking thing, I think that it goes deeper than, it was just the essay stuff. It was more into bioengineering, eugenics. And if you look into his office, he had a private office called Jeffrey's office. He had full reign, 24-hour access to this office, in which he donated millions of dollars to Harvard University. Now, he was also donating millions of dollars to MIT.
He had a private office at Harvard, you mean?
Well, yes, he had a private office at Harvard called Jeffrey's office. But a few things happened. For one, he was heavily tied to MIT as well, to the godfather of AI, which is Marvin Minsky, heavily tied to him. So if you look into AI, if you look into how it can be used to gene map the human body and DNA, that's a perfect person to tie yourself with when you're dealing with eugenics. Now at Harvard, a few things happened as well while he was there, which is very interesting. There was a morgue manager at Harvard that just pled guilty for trafficking human body parts at Harvard. Skulls, skin, brains, tissue, you name it. Now, you don't think that this guy, over the course of over 2 decades, knew Jeffrey Epstein and wasn't involved with him?
Yeah, I mean, you got to wonder if it's possible for sure. And
So, yeah.
when we talk about bioengineering and AI combined, right? We have to draw a conclusion that there's a possibility that these billionaires are investing in the areas they feel can bring them a longer life, right? Like bioengineering, AI, gene mapping. Do you get the vibe that this is the billionaires' search for eternal life almost, if that makes sense?
Correct. I think these people have a bloodlust for world domination.
Mhm.
Not only that, but they think they're above the human race. I think that they have an ideal type of situation where they reign supreme and live forever. This is why they're dealing in AI. This is why they're dealing with gene mapping. Even Epstein, he was running a lot of things out of Zorro Ranch. That was a lot of experimentations going out of his mansion in New Mexico.
Mm.
There's been tons of victims who came forward and said he wasn't only into the SA stuff, but he was also into a lot of experimentation, eugenics, and that was mainly based, besides Harvard, mainly based at Zorro Ranch. There's a lot of reports, coming out of there to where he was doing a lot of stuff with, organs and whatnot.
Wow. Okay.
So I think that they were looking for answers. Him specifically was looking for answers to spread his DNA and or live forever type of situation. A lot of these billionaires want to stick around longer than they want to. Then here's the thing. He even wanted to spread his DNA amongst many women. So this has been reported as well, to where he wanted to impregnate and spread his DNA with multiple women.
Okay.
Very strange stuff. And again, it goes to the ideal of, I want my DNA to live forever. I want to
Yeah. I mean, I
dominate.
think that's like the classic version of immortality, right? Is you're whittling it down to your genes living on, and therefore a part of you lives on. It's interesting to imagine anyone who has a illicit Epstein baby. That would be quite a worrying concept.
Exactly. And again, it goes a lot deeper than what just the surface. He was even saying, hey, in the email leaks, he was saying, yeah, we can make Black people smarter, right? So he was saying essentially he wanted to uh, regenerate, the brain and all these different things that have to deal with, IQ level and whatnot.
Okay.
So he was experimenting, on many different levels. So if you look at these emails, it explains that clearly. So I think that it goes a lot deeper. I think that we're just scratching the surface on what he was really into. And, these emails are just, it's an insane amount of information, and you can go
Right.
on for years with this stuff.
No, 100%. And I think I think it's interesting the timing of the release of the files. I was saying this on a show the other day that never have we lived in a day and age where we're so preset now to assume videos or sound files that we hear, we can write them off as AI now, right? Oh, well, if we've heard a conversation between an ex-president and Epstein or this or that, plausible deniability is in the game now because of how much we question what we see on a daily basis because of AI. Do you think that the timing of that has any relevance?
Definitely. I think that, well, for one, the technology that we have available today, a lot of it is government tech. Okay, so DARPA has all the technology that we use today when it comes to AI, when it comes to the phones we use, everything that we use when it comes to technology, DARPA has created it.
Mhm.
Okay, GPS, face recognition, all these things come from the government, from DARPA. The first self-driving car was in 1984 that DARPA actually created. So What we seem to like, oh, FaceTime and self-driving cars, this is amazing. They had this stuff decades ago.
Yeah, there's a classic example of the like the 20-year light bulb was invented in the 40s or 50s, but because of the job loss that would have entailed at that point, they never released it. It's sorry, carry on with what you were saying, Maverick.
Exactly, and a lot of tech has been hidden from the world for a long time. Free energy. If you look into the first electric car, that was in the late 1800s by Baker Motors. So these things that we think is new and so amazing have been withheld from society from a long time. And again, Epstein had a lot of ties to the government, a lot of different governments, shall we say. And I think that even he had a boss. I think there's a shadow government that doesn't go away and really doesn't have any country lines per se. I think that what we're dealing with is definitely an NWO situation.
Oh, undoubtedly, 100%. And here's the thing: there's the files, okay, and this is prevalent in the Diddy case as well. I think, Maverick, right? We heard all about the terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of footage, right? And you know, as a content creator, how much you can fit on one of those 5 or 10 terabyte freaking drives. It takes a while to fill up, right?
Right.
So it was the same with the Epstein case. Where the hell is all of that? Where is all the photographical evidence of crimes against children being committed? Because it seems to me that it's completely fine in the eyes of these monsters if you are just a solo pervert, okay? But the minute you start dragging anyone else in, they're not going to have it. They're not going to have it. Evidence just disappears. And that I think is the distraction. That's what I think that they're trying to keep our attention away from. If we can just be happy with a bunch of emails, Maverick, they'll be happy. But where is it all? Where is it all? Because no one has been arrested. You know?
Yeah, I think this. I think that it's an easy layup when it comes to Epstein, Diddy, all these people, because think about this. Even during the Diddy case, where they're saying all these freak offs happen and they played the tapes in court, they're saying that there's other names, other celebrities involved. Who are they? Right?
Right.
Who are the other victims that had to deal with Diddy, Epstein? And here's another thing too. I think Diddy's list is Epstein's list, because you have 2 billionaires from New York and they don't know each other.
I think it's gold level membership and platinum level membership.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I totally agree. I just think we're just one step away from each other. I guess it's Diddy may have the music industry in Hollywood, and Epstein's got politics and princes and all this kind of stuff. So it could be same level, different genre, but it's 100%, bro.
I definitely think there's overlap, because if you look at two things, for one, again, they're from the same place, right? And they're running around the same circles at the same time. They're dealing with politicians, musicians, you name it. If you look at who Epstein actually donated to, what party? The Democrats, right? Now, who was the party he was advocating for, and who was he hanging around with? Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, the Democratic Party. So once again, there's overlap.
It's suspicious characters too, Maverick. This is the thing, is that none of the people that you rub shoulders with that were in politics in that time don't have conspirafact tinfoilness all around them,
Right.
You must have found that yourself, though, right? I mean, especially with the Clintons and Obama and everything like that. It's an interesting circle of friends.
Yeah. I mean, even Obama, his name comes up in the files. You have his staffer, Kathy Rumler. She was on the files as well, emailing Epstein, talking about something very suspicious. Now, what was she talking about? She was talking to him about a cook who can wait. Now, What cook is related to Obama? Oh, in 2023, he had a very interesting thing that happened at Martha's Vineyard at his house where his chef drowns. Now, that's one thing, right? Now, that email was in 2014, 9 years later. Could not be, right? Here's the thing. A year later, another chef dies in 2015. Guess who he worked for? Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. He magically drowns as well. Seems to be all these, chefs just drown magically. It's pretty interesting. So was she talking about that cook? Was she talking about Obama's chef? Either way,
it's weird.
The words cook, saying cook can wait. And it was a very eerie, weird email saying, yeah, I'll be in the emergency room with gunshot wounds and all this other stuff. It was a very strange email.
Yeah. Do you know, when you see the emails from various Clinton and Obama situations, you got to ask yourself, how many of us would have got away with crimes if we had emails like this working against us? Because it seems to me that this elite level of protection, plausible deniability, and so a coercion of our own thoughts when it comes to the media is what's keeping these all protected. So with that in mind, it has to be one entire system, Maverick, right? It has to be, like you say, a new world order style blanket that we're seeing here. Do you feel like this year it's been more prevalent than ever? I think 2025 has been a fantastic year for evil. I think evil's done fantastic work in 2025. And I feel like the actions that have taken place have been taken place out of almost panic, almost like if you were to corner a wolf, how it would act. It wouldn't be rational. It would be aggressive, and it would be forced to act, because everything seems awfully rushed and odd the way that these individuals have implemented their plans in 2025. Do you feel like there's something going on behind the scenes that's forcing this bizarre set of actions that we've seen take place?
For sure. I think what's happening right now, there is two regimes jockeying for position right now.
Okay.
So what's happening is that obviously you have the Trump administration that is, in control right now. Then you have this other regime to where it's the exact opposite, but they're all there's a lot of overlap, right? So we all know that Epstein knew Trump and they were friends at one point.
Yep.
That's been documented. But here's the thing. They're showing 3 or 4 old pictures of Trump and Epstein together. Now, what did Trump know? I think he knew a lot. But this is also documented to where they had a falling out. So they're re-showing this, pictures from 93, 94 to where him and Epstein are together. That's the only footage and pictures that they have. So I think that now Trump has become president to control the Epstein files. So now he's controlling the information, the flow of information, right? Now, whoever was against him, now he's turning the hammer back on them, i.e. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Obama, all these people who try to take him out. So now that's why I think what we're seeing is two regimes fighting at the top.
See, I think a lot of people hold on to the hope that it's because Trump has been planning some great, picking apart all of the people like the Clintons, the Obamas, all the people that are on this list and all the rest of it. But I'm pretty sure they had it in their hands too, right?
For sure. That's why it never came out. How come Epstein had to move around freely this entire time and nobody released the files? Nobody had any information on this guy at all?
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where the reason it's staring us all in the face, there is blatant corruption going on, whether it is just within a localized office or global. But this is blackmail. Let's be honest. Let's cut through all the nonsense here, right? This just comes down to Epstein was a proprietor of footage and evidence to control individuals around the world, whether it was for business reasons, political or economic reasons. This is what has fundamentally run the New World Order since its incarceration. Its creation, sorry, is blackmail. And that, to me, is the only reason why we have had no arrests. We've not seen a single still image or video footage or anything from the Diddy case or the Epstein files, is because it ain't in the possession of the FBI. It's gone back to the people that paid for it in the first place.
Correct. And think about this. When Epstein was moving around doing this thing the entire time for decades, right? Everybody knew what he was doing. He was blackmailing everybody left and right. And here's how I know Trump became president to control those files. The first term of Trump, you know, his first run. So Epstein's moving around the entire time. Trump becomes president. Then what happens to Epstein? He goes to jail. Then he dies in jail, right? So all of a sudden, now we're seeing some accountability, which is very interesting. So it makes you think, okay, well, now he's the most powerful man on earth. Now he wants to take down Epstein because he knows Epstein has dirt on him.
Yeah, I can see. I was saying this on another show. We've got to assume, right, that any blackmail is good blackmail, you know? And if you imagine the states that we've gotten ourselves into at parties over the years, you know, we've all had at least one night where we've woken up and been like, I cannot remember the last 4 hours of that evening. So we have to assume that if you've got an individual who doesn't want to partake in anything illegal, you get them into a point, whether it's scopamine or any other substances, and you switch out the participants that they're fooling around with, get a few minutes of footage, it's over. You know, you can wake up the next day not even having a clue that you've committed a crime, and then you are shown it, and that is the control. And I honestly think this is the closest we have ever come to uncovering what really runs the world and getting the evidence away from the hands of people that can possibly expose it has been a long and arduous job. Now, talking about the FBI, Kash Patel, is that the guy's name? The guy that runs the FBI.
Kash Patel.
What was he for a start? What was he doing going on the Joe Rogan show? The points that he made on the Joe Rogan show, this was unprecedented for an FBI, the director of the FBI, to just nip on a podcast. Mad. Right. What was going through your head when Kash Patel entered the scene?
Well, at first I did have a lot of faith, but seeing how he is running things now, I think it's all fluff. I think it's all BS. And the fact that he is telling us that Epstein really unalived himself. He acted alone and there's nothing else weird going on. Then he tells us Tyler Robinson acted alone with the Charlie Kirk situation. He was a lone wolf. A lot of holes in that plot. So all these things that we know, it's common knowledge to these situations to where it's impossible for these things to happen, for these particular people to be lone wolves. And you're just ruling it out. Oh yeah, well, that was a lone wolf situation. That was a lone wolf situation. Nothing to see here.
But listen, also, Epstein was a lone wolf situation. Diddy was a lone wolf situation. Exactly. It's just a standardized plan, bro. When in doubt, pin everything on one guy and back away. You know what I'm saying?
And there's no way to where all these people going to the Tyler Robinson situation.
Yeah.
How does a kid who had no prior experience in military take off to this whole situation, one perfect shot, assembles a rifle, disassembles, changes clothes, goes to a Dairy Queen, all these random, like, how is this even possible in doing all this in record time? And the fact that he went to a school for one semester that had a CIA program. So he goes to that school for one semester, then drops out. And that program was called CAI. Okay, so it's a recruiting school to where it's a recruiting program to where they recruit students through there. And that program was actually organized by a former CIA directorate. Now, CAI stands for Central Anticipatory Intelligence. So these things that we all lay out on the table, we're the ones that's crazy when we lay out all the evidence.
Right.
So all these things just don't add up. And saying they're a lone wolf, I mean, there's no way you can pull all these things off by yourself.
It's completely true. I mean, just for one, I'll believe everything they tell me if you can take that rifle and climb down that set of, like the little ladder he came down, okay, with that rifle fully concealed, right? Anyone who manages to achieve that, I take my hat off to you, okay? Because this story just doesn't add up. But let me ask you this, Maverick, right? Because in a day and age of conspiracy, right, and assassination and all this kind of stuff, do you think that the Charlie Kirk case could be an example of somebody who's planned to be unalived and knowing how many keyboard warriors there are and having little distractions of theater placed around the assassination to derail and to distract individuals online and put out crazy narratives about, you know, Israeli microphone packs exploding? Then we've got a crazy old dude with no trousers getting dragged away and arrested right at the very beginning, and a guy saying that he did it, and then a guy running on a roof and a muzzle flash from here and a dude doing all this behind him. Does that not all feel like a perfectly constructed way of distracting the internet from the truth and ever agreeing, which is another important factor here, Maverick, is getting us all arguing over who's right? Do you not feel like that's what it felt like?
That's the thing. I think they weaponize media, and I think they weaponize information. We're in the age of information, right? So where we have information at our fingertips, but everybody's so confused all at one time because we're getting different bits and pieces of information, right? So they're weaponizing the information and weaponizing media. This is why Elon bought X, to control the information, the flow of information, right? So when you have media on your side, the flow of information, you can misconstrue it. You can weaponize confusion to where people are bickering back and forth. No, that was true. This was true. So it is one distraction, one big distraction, because one thing can be true, but how can you tell when you have so many different bits and pieces of information? So I think that confusion is their key weapon. Confuse everybody, and that way they'll never find the truth. Because what I said was, with this Tyler Robertson situation, I think a human being didn't kill Charlie Kirk at all. I think it was a drone.
That's exactly what I said. I'm telling you now, if I'm the US government or whatever government we want to say assassinated anyone in 2025, I'm not sending a human. I'm sending an AI that's going to go. It's going to go like this. Okay, yeah, we've got like a 4 mile an hour wind going this way. It's just going to go beep, 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 from a mile away, bro. Right. From a mile away. And there'll be like a little Bluetooth speaker somewhere that'll have been the gunshot we heard. But of course it was a freaking drone, bro. If we're talking about the top tier level, if it was a foreign national country or the American government, if we're talking about that level of assassination plot, of course it was definitely a Terminator, 100%.
Yeah. And again, that's a great point, because we're in the 21st century. There's drones everywhere, and what we have available right now is already amazing tech. Now, what government has is at least 20, 25 years ahead.
Correct.
So when you're talking about drones and whatnot, and there was a muzzle flash behind Charlie Kirk, right? Yeah. So there's if you look at the footage behind him, there's a muzzle flash to his back right. So you put a patsy, which is the kid, Tyler Robinson, up front, right, who has CIA ties. Mm-hmm. Then from behind, you have a drone take him out, and then have all this confusion in between.
Of course.
None the wiser that, you know, you can have a drone, probably the size of a mosquito, which they actually have.
It could have been a tiny, of course. I'm thinking massive drone from far away, but it could just be a 22. Could have been a 22 coming out of a drone the size of a cigarette packet. Tiny little thing. Great point.
And to give more credence to that, the Chinese have already rolled out. They have already disclosed their mosquito-sized drones used for reconnaissance. So they have these things already. So you don't think the U.S. government has it, or whoever was involved?
100%.
With them.
So they don't fare well in high winds, though. Okay, you're working out the kinks there, China. They work great indoors, though. As a recon tool, it's quite scary, actually. If you Google it, Google tiny reconnaissance drones, people, you'll blow your mind.
And I think that the best way to calculate wind speed and all these things, AI can easily do this, like to take a shot.
If you're an evil billionaire, Mav, are you going to try? You going to trust some dude that you've hired to go and do the most important assassination you've ever tried to pull off, or are you just going to outsource it to the tech department? Because I'm just saying, human error in this has always been the one thing that we need to remove from espionage. If we can remove human error from espionage, you control the narrative in a way that's never been done before.
Correct. Exactly.
It really is.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. JFK, that happened in the 60s. The guy who was in the vehicle took him out. But again, we're talking 50 plus years ago.
Yeah, dude. JFK is another mountain of, like, we could sit here for the next 4 hours and talk about JFK. Both of us have completely different points of view, but the ending is the exact same. You see what I'm saying? And that I think that's the beauty of information and espionage and assassination and terror and control, is they don't want just one wrong conclusion for us all to see. We need to have multiple false conclusions so that we can argue over them, because keeping us divided, even in a lie, is essential for control.
Correct. And that's why we have all these constructs now, that they have everybody worrying about so many different problems that really don't matter at the end of the day. So when we have these people playing chess with the public and the world, we should start asking those questions versus who's gay, who's straight, black, white, all these things that they throw in front of us. And I think they throw out chaos agents. So chaos agents are people like Elon, people like all these people who are just stirring up. Even if you look at the landscape of some creators I feel like are manufactured to cause confusion and create chaos.
100%. 100 million%, bro. 100 million%. What was that crazy chick that was like interviewing Drake on her bed like a couple of years ago? She was
Bobby Outlaw.
Yeah, she was completely outed as an industry plant, like just completely and utterly. Here's an interesting one, though. This was in today's news. Jeffrey Epstein in plot for SAS sniper to unalive Andrew and Fergie. Now, first of all, SAS snipers, probably the one group of people who swore to serve the Queen. Okay, so probably not the best group to have went to. I wonder if we're going to start seeing this as the reason, because I'll tell you right now, if Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and the king found out that he had planned to kill his brother, Jeffrey is getting taken out the next day. Okay, like, you don't mess with the Queen, you don't mess with her kids, you don't mess with that woman at all. And we all know that there's definitely secrets that family would like to have been kept under wraps. What do you think about just the incredibleness of this headline? It just seems wild to me. What's your take on this one, Nav?
Well, I think that personally, what I think is Jeffrey Epstein is not dead. And here's
all right, spicy, Mav. Let's go. Let's turn up the heat, bro.
How does the camera go out and the guard fall asleep all at the same time while he's unaliving himself? It doesn't make sense, right?
It's America, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Like, anything is possible, right? But I agree. I completely agree. So you think that you think rather than it being them covering up the unaliving, you think it was a sneak him out the back door scenario?
Of course, because you have to look at now the island itself.
Okay.
It was just purchased by a billionaire who wants to turn it into a resort. Surprise, surprise. So now you're saying,
who's going there? Who is going there?
Who wants to go there now? Like, Like what? Like why would a billionaire buy the island who's probably connected to Epstein and turn it into a 25-room luxury resort? It's only 25 rooms. That sounds very strange, right?
Dude.
So the fact that that happens, I think that Epstein is probably back on the island running things from the shadows. Now, when you have hits out on, Prince Andrew, we're seeing that in real time to where now we're seeing disclosure where governments and countries are putting out hits. Same thing that's happening right now with Candace Owens. Now,
Right.
Candace Owens, she just disclosed that the French government is trying to kill her, who is colluding with Israeli assassins and all this other stuff, right? So what we're seeing right now is disclosure when we're talking about, mercenaries getting hired to take out civilians and whatnot. So I think that Prince Andrew, he's probably low-hanging fruit and he has a lot of information. And the fact that they stripped his status and then kicked him out, that's just a telltale sign.
See, when you say Prince Andrew's low-hanging fruit, do you know what I think? I think he's a bloody nightmare in a situation like this. Imagine, right? Imagine for a minute, you're an evil, twisted billionaire, right? And you're on the island, and Prince Andrew, the son of the Queen of the United Kingdom, who's an absolute nightmare. We've all had that one friend in our normal friend group that's a nightmare. Okay, an absolute nightmare. Except in this world, whereas we would usually just, drown you in the swimming pool, we can't do that. We can't do that to the Queen's son. So he's a real unique pain in the ass for this Maverick, because it goes so much further. The man formerly known as Prince, we should say, no longer a prince, old Andy boy. We spoke to a former model, Barbara. 3 of her friends were Andrew's girls out in New York that he paid for all their accommodation and all of this kind of stuff. So there's the legal level of debauchery, right? And all of this. And then it just keeps sinking down and down and down. And Candace Owen, talk a little bit about what you were just touching on there about, she feels like her life's in danger and all of this, because we have seen a long stream of public figures over the years get very close to disclosing something and then suddenly unalive themselves. Okay. It's almost a pandemic, Mav, at this point. So take us through that.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people are split on this whole situation. They're saying that Candace wants clicks and just attention. Here's the thing. She has the #1 podcast on earth. I don't think she needs any more clicks at this point. She was already big before.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think that she has way too much to lose to be lying about this situation. Now, here's the thing. Just look at the evidence. I go to the evidence because circumstantial evidence is how we actually convict people, right? This is how we convict people or situations. We have to look at circumstantial evidence and eyewitness testimony if we don't have that. So when it comes to Candace Owens, think about this. One of her best friends is now dead. That's one.
Yeah.
So you don't think that somebody is trying to take her out when she has a massive voice, a massive influence over the public? Now she says,
yes, it's not just her voice though. Keep in mind, there's a lot of people with a voice. She is like rust, bro. Like once she's on something, she ain't going to stop until she has consumed it. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. So she doesn't let up. So being the fact that she's saying that Brigitte Macron is a man.
Right. Yeah, of course. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Let me give you a timeline of kind of what's happening with this whole situation.
Do it.
So a year before Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, there was a report of threats against Candace Owens' life. Okay. September 10th, 2014. Okay. So a man by the name of Haim Braverman, and this is verified by the New Jersey District Courts, he made threats against her and her family a year before to the date. Okay. So then a year later to the date, Charlie Kirk dies. Coincidence? Now what we're seeing is that the fact that she's going after Macron, saying Brigitte is a man, they hit her with a defamation lawsuit. And then Trump calls her and says, hey, I think you need to chill on the Macrons and kind of back off. Then what happens after that call? Charlie Kirk dies. So I think that call was actually a warning saying, hey, you know, you may want to back off or else, and now your best friend's dead.
Yeah.
So now she's saying that the French government is actually, you know, Macron already paid for the hit, documented evidence saying, hey, this guy already paid for the hit. It was a female assassin and with an Israeli assassin as well. So they're working together. So by her evidence and what she's come to find out, she says they are currently trying to assassinate her. And she's taking this evidence and all this information to the US government, and they said they received her receipt in all this.
I'll be honest. Someone in Candace Owens' position, right? I mean, it would be the stupidest thing for her to ever make up and fabricate. Like, correct. It would just be, it would be like fabricating a Bigfoot when your whole life's been about trying to find Bigfoot. Do you see what I mean? I'm being caught. I mean, your whole reputation's gone. Over what? I mean, it's such a dumb thing to fabricate.
Right.
But I tell you what, bro, there's something going on with that particular family that Candace is referring to. There was a lot of fusses made over certain things, and I think she's done the right thing. I think anyone who fears for their lives, the more people who have eyes on you, the better, right? I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. I mean, I don't think we're in a world where that's enough to save you from a certain level of, if they want you gone, you will be gone. People get hit by buses every day, Mav. Do you know what I'm saying? People, 12 people a year die putting their socks on, and you know how the government works. They've convinced us that a bunch of dudes in caves took down towers. Do you know what I mean? People will be spoon-fed information and believe it. And we can all sit here and say to ourselves, well, if they took her out, it would prove that she was right and all the rest of it. Do you know how many potential unalivings have happened over the years with just as much scrutiny attached to them?
Right. I mean, even going back to your bus point, I mean, Virginia Giuffre was hit by a bus right before she suicides herself.
Yeah.
And she was a victim of Epstein.
Yeah. Listen, I covered that case, and I spent weeks and weeks trying to find proof of life, because there was one interview done, Maverick, with the bus driver. Okay. One interview. And he only came forward because he said he thought they were trying to pull some insurance scam on him, because it was the crash was so insignificant. They never even exchanged information. And he said she wasn't in the car. There was only one woman in the car. I do not believe that anyone had seen Virginia Giuffre alive since October of the previous year. That was the last time I found proof of life for the people that were in contact with her. I think this whole thing was a mass panicked fabrication to eliminate the poster child for human trafficking justice. Okay, when the biggest case in the world was about to have all of the files released, she was the loosest of loose ends ever. We've got the loose end tied off, and now we've got our pound of flesh with the de-printed prints, and now we've got a bunch of emails, and nobody's questioning where the video evidence is. I mean, it's distraction after distraction after distraction, and it's mind-blowing. And that's why I say evil has had a hell of a year in 2025, Mav,
For sure. And again, where there's smoke, there's fire. When we're looking at situations like Charlie Kirk, we're looking at situations like Virginia Giuffre. I mean, even the other Epstein victims, 2 other Epstein victims died the same way in West Palm Beach, both in bathtubs, who drowned or overdosed or whatever the case may be, but they're both in bathtubs. What are the chances, right?
Water is an interesting one, right? Because bathtubs are just tiny pools, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a lot of celebrities, a lot of individuals, a lot of cases where there's water involved. And
yeah, Matthew Perry, you had
Whitney. Don't forget Whitney.
Whitney Houston's daughter, like all these people.
Also, not new to taking substances, either of those people. They were, in fact, I would say, career substance takers. Okay? It's interesting how many of them just forget what their dose is and just conveniently die in a bath.
Well, yeah, that's a red herring, I think. I think that they use that to where, again, like you said, if they're using, frequently, that can easily be covered up to where if something nefarious happens, you can obviously inject them with something that's like, oh, well, look, they just overdosed.
100%. And if you're we talk about the passive media consumer. That's what I talk about a lot, Maverick. When when you're doom scrolling, right, and you're seeing headlines, and it's like, oh, Whitney Houston ODs in bath. The average media consumer, that is them. That's how much news they're taking in, bro. They're seeing that headline and going, oh, junkie died in a bath. I can understand the narrative. I don't have to read more.
Right. Yeah.
It's by design, bro.
It's a cop-out. It's definitely a cop-out.
It's if you have got a history with substance abuse and then you mess around and find out with the wrong people, guaranteed you are ODing in the bath, right? It's in the post, mate. It's in the post. And it's one of those crimes that, like I say, people will just happily tick that off as no problem. But I'm going to touch on this now. I see that you've interviewed our good friend Big Homie a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of work with Big Homie, a lot of work last year. And me and him have a very strong belief that the foundation of a lot of this is steeped in the occult, in rituals, and with some pretty dark tales, bro. If I'm not going to lie. What's your take on the conspiracy of the occult, of the rituals, of demonic, of witchcraft, all of this having an element to cases like Epstein and Diddy?
Definitely 100%. I mean, this is how they use media. I mean, movies, music, it's all enrooted government. Now, again, going to just evidence. If you look at the back of the US dollar, what's on the back of the dollar? I always go back to the dollar, the US dollar, okay? It is a pyramid with an eye on it, you guys. It's staring you right in the face, and it says, E pluribus unum, from one comes many. What does that sound like? From one comes many, a cult, okay? So that's one. In God we trust. Which God are we talking about? God doesn't need money, does he?
Okay. Yeah, this has always been a bit sus for me, bro.
Okay, so let's break this down. So the pillars on the pyramid, there's 13 pillars, okay? Onuit Corceptus. Do you know what that means?
Oh, hit me with it, Mav. Hit me with that goddamn Latin, bro. Hit me with it.
So he who signals the beginning, and Ordo, Novus Ordo Seclorum, Order of the New Ages. Okay, so nobody finds this suspicious. Order of the New Ages and he who signals the beginning. Who are we talking about? Okay, there's a hidden owl. If you have a microscope, there's a hidden owl.
There is a hidden owl. You keep talking, I'll get the freaking screenshot, bro.
Yeah. So if you take a magnifying glass, there's a hidden owl there. You have all this, language, and then the 13 pillars. You have the 13 leaves in the eagle's hands. So everybody's wondering, what is the 13 about? Well, it's the 13 bloodlines. Okay, so there it is right there. So when they worship the owl god Moloch, I mean, you can go to the Bohemian Grove and see the big owl there. Okay,
100%, yeah.
And if you look into way back in history, child sacrifice was major, which is still happening today. Okay, that God needs a sacrifice, and they always sacrifice children. So all this is on the back of your dollar. Like, it's not some conspiracy. You can just pick up a dollar and look at it, right? So all these clues are on there: 13 pillars, the 13 You know, they're saying it's the 13 colonies and whatnot, but it's really the 13 bloodlines. And if you go to the 13 bloodlines, think about why they call it colonies. What moves in colonies? I mean, if you got to think about it, maybe reptilians, maybe some type of non-human entities, because we always call them colonies and whatnot. So I think that these 13 bloodlines, when you're talking about who established this country, we're going into, you know, non-human beings, because the way they are moving around, the way they are treating human beings, these people cannot be human, or
I agree.
they're taking cues from somebody that's non-human being. Okay. Now, if you go into ancient Sumerian texts in Mesopotamia, which is documented, and you can go to many museums around the world where they have clay tablets where it's written on these tablets about the Anunnaki and all these other things, right? Now, these beings said, you know, in theory, human beings, we were created to be a slave race and to mine gold. And this is why they created us. What is the most precious thing on earth? Gold. Okay.
Yep,
Now, if the 1%, the globalists, are acting this way, and the Sumerian text says, hey, treat human beings like this as a slave race, and they're treating us like a slave race, think about it. So the 1% makes the 99% pretty much a slave race, and we're mining gold, and you know, we have to work until we die, and all these things, all these constructs. Meanwhile, they're sitting at the top.
Yep.
That's why there's a pyramid.
Yep. And you know, it's interesting because a DJ from California blew my mind one day talking about why in God's name would anyone be mining for gold before the wheel was even invented back in the Aztec era. Why would they dig something up that has no purpose, that doesn't, you know, you can't make tools out of it, you can't make armor out of it, you can decorate with it all, but why were they digging it up by the megaton? Nobody could understand it. And the story of the Nephilim and the mining of gold to repair whatever, insert whatever theory you want here. I think it's fascinating. And I think the concept of hidden technology, as you said, is tiny compared to the hidden knowledge. They have spent so much time over the last 2,000 years, Mav, convincing us that science is the answer. Okay. You listen, witchcraft, magic, all of that stuff doesn't exist. Don't worry about your dreams. Don't worry if you see something in your head and then 2 minutes later it happens. Science will explain it. And we've been preconditioned to ignore the subtleties that go on around us that have existed on this planet for millennia. We are, in actual fact, the most dumbed down, wet wipe version of humanity that our lineage has seen. And what fascinates me is we've got a lot of junk DNA by design in our system, Maverick, right? Mm-hmm. And it makes me wonder if the only planet in our solar system that has trees and birds and all of this beauty that can keep you entertained on the planet, there's no other planet like that. Okay. There's balls of gas and fire and ice and tornadoes and lava rivers and all of that. But our planet is pretty incredible. So what if we're not a slave race, but we're a seed bank, okay, for all the other races, so that if their species becomes in trouble, they can nip back and pull their genome out of us. And we've got some massive thing hurtling towards us, the Atlas 13 or whatever it's called. I imagine they'll tell us that's just a big bit of space rubbish and not to worry about it. Everything will be fine. What do you think about the possibility of the Great Awakening, the panicking of the elites is leading up to something that is going to be universally changing? Do you think we're heading towards something like that?
I definitely think so. And going back to the human DNA. So if you look into the human DNA, there is a worship gene in the DNA. So if you're looking at higher entities and whatnot, why does the human being have a worship DNA? This is why celebrities are a thing. People worship celebrities. They worship other things. They worship a lot of things. Why is that? So that gives credence to what I said about, human beings being some type of slave race, or like how you said, pulling out certain genomes and whatnot. So could it be that this planet is one big project? Could be. Now, going to 3i Atlas, I think it's just another cog in the wheel that is pushing us forward to this great awakening, but also a one world government type of situation. Because I think humanity and consciousness is doing this. I think it's separating. As certain people arise and wake up, the others are descending, right? So if you pay attention to the arrival date of 3i Atlas, they keep pushing the date, which is pretty funny.
Right.
Now it is December 29th. Now, if you pay attention,
I think that's because they had to stop for Starbucks on the way to Earth, right? They had to stop and get their fraps. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So this thing is speeding up, slowing down, changing course, all these different things. It's not acting like a comet at all.
Yeah.
So, and scientists have documented this already. I think it's a cycle, right? If you look at the last couple of years, in America, there's been some very strange things. I mean, 2 years ago, we had the Miami aliens. That was one thing, right?
Which, by the way, what happened to all the people that saw that, Mav? Okay, because if there's ever a freaking argument for that Men in Black pen that just erases your memory, it's that entire story, bro. Because there was hundreds and hundreds of people, bro.
Right. So I have an answer to that. So let me get back to that. So let's
do it.
The next year we had the guy blowing himself up in front of Trump Tower, the other guy running through Bourbon Street, all that crazy stuff, right? So every top of the year, something's going on. Now we have 3i Atlas coming right on time for the new year, okay? And we go in cycles. This is why, the number 12, this is why they created 12 months in a year. So time is a construct, right? This is how the occult works through time, numbers, all these different things, because 12, I mean, why is there 12 Federal Reserve banks? 12 jurors in a trial. You have a 12-step program. So 12 is an occult number to what they use. Same thing like 33 and whatnot, right? So now we're going into a new cycle. 3i Atlas is arriving right before New Year's. Okay. So, I mean, and then real quick, going to your point of, all that footage being gone and whatnot.
Right.
So here's the thing. We have one piece of footage from a condo, that's pretty much it, right? We don't have anything else. Where's the footage of the kids playing with the fireworks, right? We have hundreds and hundreds of cops coming through for some kids with some fireworks.
Did you see the Ring doorbell footage of the freaking gray alien, bro? Did you see the Ring? Did you see that, right? Because
I did.
All I'm saying, bro, is see fake footage. It sticks around for years. I should be able to go on YouTube and type in California Ring doorbell alien and there to be 1 million reposts. It's gone.
Right.
Okay? It's gone.
And here's the thing, to give more credence to that. So going back to DARPA tech, right? So all the technology that we use comes from DARPA. If you look at GPS, if you look at, face recognition, AI, all these things, iPhones, it's all DARPA technology. Now, you don't think that they have some type of technology to where they can wipe out everybody's footage all at once, right?
Hell yeah.
Or even some type of frequency that makes you forget.
Hell yeah.
Which the CIA plays with frequencies. They have many tests and disclosure in CIA disclosed documents to where they've had many psyops, many things on the human mind and what they can do. They play with frequencies.
Of course, bro. It's actually wild when you look at declassified info, like declassified top secret human experiments that America done on its own people. Do you know what I mean? Like spraying stuff on a marathon and all this. It's bonkers. It's bonkers. But hey, Mav, don't worry. I know we done that 50 years ago, but trust us now, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, sure, guys. Sure.
Yeah. So the thing is, and again, if they did all these things back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but all of a sudden they just stopped, no, they just got more advanced and more sophisticated.
Yep. 100%.
So I think that they're using frequencies. I think they're using, of course, media.
Let me just expand a little bit on this for you, right? Because you touched on something earlier about idols, about worshiping famous individuals. Okay, and listen, the Kardashians. I want to use them as an example. The most famous group of talentless individuals the world has ever seen. Okay, now imagine yourself. Imagine you're watching a movie. Someone's walked into a church, right? It's that famous scene where they go in and they kneel down in front of the little candles and they light a candle and they project an affirmation, in the form of a prayer, which is projecting, right, of your wants and emotions, right? It's a projection of your energy. See if you have tens of millions of people sat in front of a computer looking at an Instagram account, the similarities between the two forms of worship are incredibly similar. You're sat, you're engaged, and you're forward projecting this affirmation. What if there is a great secret in the simplicity of our thoughts being so powerful that when they're collectively brought together and focused on one thing, that energy can benefit the individual it's being projected to? That's one thing that has been harnessed by people for since there has been screens. There has been the occult harnessing people's energies and having it projected. And you just got to, if you don't think I'm right, just ask yourself, all the successful people you know in life surround themselves with other successful people. And it's keeping that mindset and that energy that breeds more success from it. It completely boils down to the secret quantum physics, whatever hell you want to insert in there for it to fit your mind. To me, it's just magic.
I mean, going to the movies and media, why does the Department of Defense have an entertainment media fund that works with Hollywood? They work with script writers, directors, producers closely. This is why Hollywood was created. I mean, think about it. Why was Mike Myers at the CIA headquarters numerous times? Because this came out during the Diddy case, because the assistant for Diddy used to be assistant for Mike Myers, and she disclosed in the Diddy case, I set up an interview with the CIA and Mike Myers. This is documented. So they have a close relationship, right? So you don't think that they're using movies, music, media to put out frequencies and all these other things. And here's the thing too. Here's to give it more context. You go to Google Patents, there is a patent on TVs to where they can send out electromagnetic frequencies to manipulate your nervous system.
Hell yeah.
So this is, again, all documented. They have these things right now.
Mav, we're entering into a new realm of scummery, right? I've started seeing 40 and 60-inch televisions advertised for free, with the first year of all of your cable services paid for free, but underneath the TV is another screen the length of the television and a foot wide that just plays adverts 24/7, baby. Just has ads running 24/7, yo. So just imagine a world, right? Imagine a world where you've got this smart TV that's listening to you, it's watching you, and it's now tailoring the adverts that it's pumping into you. You talked about frequencies. Let's just for a minute talk about symbols, bro. Okay? The simplicity. I mean, we all know the cross, right? We all know the cross, Jesus, symbol, all that stuff. There's some horrible ones too. The Nazis, they had one. We all know what that is, symbol. Yeah. But what about ancient symbols that we have no clue about, right? And just because we're a bunch of dumbasses in 2025 doesn't mean that the mystical powers that could or could not exist can't be used upon us. And I think symbols and magic and words and music, combine that with media, in the new world, when it's subliminal messages and things like this, we're cooked, bro. We're literally cooked when it comes to how they can manipulate us. And that's us. Think about now all the little babies that are being raised by iPads. Okay.
Right.
It's a system now that we're losing against it because too many people are convinced it isn't happening.
Yeah. I mean, even going into when you're talking about mind control and whatnot, MK Ultra has been well documented. Now, there's something that very, interesting that came out not too long ago, tying to Epstein to that as well. So with Epstein, he was heavily influential in the political sphere because Stacey Plaskett, so she just got caught to where she was in a congressional hearing in 2019 where she was live texting. There's a live video of her texting Epstein, and there's a transcript with that. Dude, right?
I see it. What was her name again? I'll bring it up.
Stacey Plaskett. So here's the thing. There's also another video to where there is a person behind her who is mouthing the same words at the same time as she is during this congressional hearing, right? Now, you don't think that Epstein has some type of MK Ultra mind control situation to where, because she was heavily involved with Epstein because she was the representative of the Virgin Islands. Where was Epstein's island? In the Virgin Islands. And being that she was an assistant district attorney in New York, where Epstein's from, but also her father was a 30-year veteran in the New York Police Department. So she has heavy ties in New York as well. And obviously, probably her father knew Epstein. She knew Epstein. She was texting Epstein. She was texting him right there in the congressional hearing.
Dude, how mind-blowing is that?
So now we're seeing all this come about, right? And then people were asking her, hey, so you were texting Epstein. She was like, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. And people were like, well, he was a convicted felon already. He was already convicted for a sexual assault and all these things. He already hit his first case. So she was like, well, she's moving the goalposts. Oh, I didn't know then, and making all this fluff. But you were caught texting live.
Well, there's you couldn't have been caught any worse, right? Yeah. Unless there was a camera, like one of those unboxing on YouTube, like downward angle cameras, and you could live watch her typing. Right. Crazy.
And if you find, I did a video on it, you can find footage. I have footage of it to where that person behind her name was actually Christine Kelsey, to where she was mouthing the words the same time as Stacey. And it was a very strange, very eerie video to where it looked like some type of mind control. And again,
okay. I see where you're going with this now. All right.
So going back to Epstein and what he was into, eugenics and bioengineering, I think it goes way deeper.
Dude, you know what? That's you've cracked my nut tonight. That was the sentence there, right? You have that's given me something to think about, Mav. Like that is, I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone that's watching the side chat, right? We're just two dudes on the internet having a conversation, all right? We are now talking about the possibility of people having their minds manipulated and there being evidence of someone murmuring things and it happening. I just want to point out some of the most famous documented evidence of the occult's magic was demonstrated. I'm not going to say the guy's name. He's very famous. He's a horrible individual. He demonstrated by walking down the street and mirroring the actions of a man in front of him. Okay. And he did this for a couple of minutes and then he purposely made himself trip over. And the man in front of him also tripped over. And he done this many, 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 many times. And I'm sorry, I can get behind the wild theories of witchcraft and people having their minds taken over and all the rest of it. I don't understand. I'm not a lawyer, Maverick, but it seems to me that if you're in some sort of government position and you're texting with a billionaire who's telling you what to say, how is that not a crime, bro? Right. How is that not a crime? Like, so is it okay then? So all these people then, it's totally fine for them to just be texting their weird billionaire friends who've invested in them. Is that what politics actually is, bro? Like, because I don't get it. Why has she got her phone? Like, why has she got a phone? Like,
so what does that tell you? So what does that tell you, right? So that one of those congressional hearings was about, you know, Trump getting impeached, right? So that shows you if he has to influence a representative from the Virgin Islands, right, which his island is from, that means that he didn't have enough on Trump to destroy him, right? So I think that Trump knows a lot. He's at what level he's involved in, we may or may not know because he's in power right now. He may be scrubbing the files himself, right? But the fact that he has to do that and text her during a live congressional hearing is very telling.
Do you know, I've got a theory about Trump, right? Because I don't think Trump has any inclination towards kids at all. I don't even think Trump's like one of those weirdos who's like, oh, 17, 16, you know, that's okay. It's all, they're almost of age sort of thing. I don't even think he's one of them. But do I think in the 90s when he was just a billionaire playboy, he done a madness with some consenting adults on film that would be really embarrassing? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Just imagine yourself as Donald Trump in the 90s, bro, with endless amounts of cash, trying to be a global playboy. Of course you're going to have done some stuff that some people could have filmed. Was it illegal? I don't think so. Was it hella embarrassing and maybe involved some substances? Probably.
Right. That's what I think. I think the same as well. I think there is some very embarrassing footage of Trump in the file somewhere or some other stuff he's doing, maybe with drugs or this or that. Kids don't see that. But again, going to evidence. Why does Epstein need to text Stacey Plaskett during a live congressional hearing to influence what is happening in the hearing? And then nobody finds it suspicious that she's a representative of the Virgin Islands. She knows a lot because that's where his island is. And the fact that she has heavy ties because her father worked for the NYPD, where Epstein is from, and her grandfather as well. So she has like generations of, you know, New York, you know, law enforcement.
Yeah.
So the fact that she doesn't know him like she says she knows him is very suspicious. I don't think so. She puts on
dumbass answer like, I've been caught texting Epstein. Oh, I don't really know him. Love, we have the video footage and the transcripts. Okay, so if you're going to get caught talking to anyone during a big, massive political meeting,
that's the last person you want to talk to,
right? Right.
The last person. Okay,
you're in deep. If you're having a conversation with him, you're in deep, bro. You are deep in it.
Correct. Deep. Yeah. And I think that, again, what Epstein, what we know, what we think he knows, it's a lot more, because there's no way it could have gone on for this amount of time. And now we're just finding out that representatives have been texting with him. Oh, it goes a lot deeper.
Well, what's interesting, right? Shaun interviewed Mark Epstein, the brother of Shaun Epstein. And there was a few emails that came up where Mark and his brother were discussing footage of allegedly Trump doing a saucy act on someone named Bubba, right? Now, what's interesting for me isn't, I think people have missed the point on this. To me, that is Mark Epstein and Jeffrey Epstein openly discussing in a fairly bantery way, as if they've done it before, about blackmail material being hidden in one location and that he'll happily show it to him. So, like, I feel like we need to get Mark back on because I've got some follow-up questions, Mark, from the first interview. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was saying that, and here's the thing. It goes back to what we were just saying. There's probably some evidence, some footage, some pictures that is something of that nature that implicates Trump to be very embarrassing, right? Now, here's the thing. He backtracks and says, oh, well, that email that wasn't Bill Clinton, because a lot of people were alluding to that
it wasn't
Bubba,
Clinton or a horse, right?
they were saying, well, yeah, here's the thing. So they were saying that Bubba is Bill Clinton's nickname, which is true, right? So they're saying, oh, it could be Bill Clinton. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell has a horse, allegedly, has a horse named Bubba. So I don't know. So whether it be Bill Clinton or horse, if any of that shit is true, that is very damaging. And that's what I think is in the files when it comes to Trump. Because again, the kid stuff, I don't see that. But could it be that, I mean, look at the evidence. You just have to look at this.
Do you remember the opening scene of The Wolf of Wall Street, where he's in the hotel room with that young lady of the evening, and things are going on? That's the sort of thing I imagine that Trump has on footage, like on film. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just white powder everywhere, 12 girls that look like Beyonce just doing a madness, and that ain't going to do well for a presidential campaign. That's all I'm saying.
Of course not. Now, here's the thing too. So when they raided Epstein's house, what did he have in his house? He had a painting of who? Bill Clinton in a blue dress with red heels. Okay. Now, what other person had a blue dress on and had to deal with fellatio? Oh, Monica Lewinsky.
Correct. Yes.
So that is a telltale sign. That is kind of like, hey, I kind of got you moment type of thing. Hey, I have a painting of you in a blue dress getting blown. And, you know, a lot of Epstein victims said he's been to the island more than anybody else. He's like number one on the list.
Do you know what this tells me? Do you know, imagine how good a friend you would have to be with someone to commission that painting and for it to be a funny joke that it's hung on your wall.
Well, I don't think it was a joke at all. I think it was like, hey, I got your number, so you better fall in line or else I'll expose you. So
could have been.
It's one big blackmail ring, right? So the fact that whatever he's into, he knows, he has footage and pictures, so you better do. And you know, when I say jump, you say how high type of situation. Okay.
Do you know what it tells me as well? The shoes are a situation for me. The color of the shoes is one thing. I don't know how far down your journey you are, right? But
the Red Shoe Club. Yeah,
we can't really talk about it because YouTube Terms of Service actually lists it as something we can't talk about. So I'm just saying, those are shoes. They're a certain color. Interesting, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, if everybody just go down your own rabbit hole, look up the Red Shoe Club. That's all I'll say.
Check it out. It's madness.
It goes deep.
It goes deep. It does go deep.
But I think that Trump, he may have been implicated. I think that Epstein does have something on him when it comes to that, because why else would you have a painting talking about, you know, getting blown and all this other stuff? Yep. And he's in a blue dress and he said he blew Clinton. So I don't know. Maybe. I think it's some very damaging things in there. This is why he's president now.
That's a good point, bro. That's not a bad point. Like, that's not a bad analogy, if I'm being honest with you. But I tell you something, if you'd asked the world, what do you think they're going to find in Epstein's house? No one is saying a painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress. No one is coming up with that madness. That is a level of billionaire craziness that you don't witness very often, that is staring us in the face right now.
I mean, think about it. He had that painting, and then he had a painting of George Bush playing with two towers with a plane as well.
Interesting.
So the fact that he has that as well, he knows what really happened with 9/11. So it goes deep.
Man, listen, you just have to watch the footage, right? Of what the hell's his name? Bush being told about 9/11, right? It tells you everything. Guy just sits there. I'm pretty sure he's reading books to kids, right?
Yeah.
What sort of stupid cover story is that? Like, okay, listen, we're going to blow up the towers. The president needs somewhere to be. Let's have him read stuff to kids. When has that ever happened?
Right.
Like, anybody else want to whip out the last president that was just sitting reading books to kids? It was like, we need to surround him with children so he looks innocent, okay? Okay, if we can have one of every ethnicity around him pointing at something and him looking happy with his arms around all of the ethnicities of the world, that's what it felt like. It was nonsense.
Yeah. And then the fact that, I mean, think about this, and the fact that what came after that, then he switches gears and then goes after Saddam.
Yep.
So that never made sense to me. Yep. Right? So we're making it about weapons of mass destructions and all this other stuff. They wanted Saddam. So I mean,
they went after him twice, bro. Twice, you know, and it's just a mad story. See, we've got a friend called Gary, right? And Gary's a whistleblower of the highest extent, right? To the point where if I was to just briefly describe Gary to any of your viewers, they would just be like, nah. At that point, you would turn off the Netflix show because it sounds too far-fetched. But this guy is legit, okay? Like legit. He's lost everything. He is currently on the run from the UK government, living wild in the UK. He's the real deal. He's got a 700-page document that will explain everything. That's open to anyone who wants to read it. And I try and interview Gary as much as I can. Sadly, he's gone radio silent currently. Well, he's not radio silent, but that's all I can say.
And he's a whistleblower with 9/11.
He's ex British police, exposing every single facet of global corruption, CERN, the royal family, the Israelis.
Oh yeah, he's going deep. Yeah,
bro, he's going deep. He is there. Like Gary's a legend, right? But I mean, like somebody just said, he's literally living in a tent right now. You know what I mean? Like that's the level of life that he has given up for the truth. And that's what they do to people, man. That's what they do to people. They want to slowly destroy and take everything that you have to break you down. But there's some people like Gary, you just can't break. Normal people break. Gary buys a tent. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, he's one of the lucky ones. I mean, if you look at other whistleblowers, they're not so fortunate because, I mean, going back to 9/11, you look at Barry Jennings. Have you ever heard of Barry Jennings?
I'm terrible with names. I'm a face guy, so I might, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So Barry Jennings, he was at ground zero, right? And he explained everything in detail about what happened that day. And he said basically there was explosions going off floor by floor, right? And he experienced this. He's one of the survivors. So he gets interviewed right after it happens, and people are like coming up to him with cameras. Hey, what's going on? He has dust all over him. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I heard explosions floor by floor, and it was going off, and he rushes out. So then a little bit, later on, they try to reach out to him for, his testimony and whatnot and get more information. Turns out he's dead now. So he just magically dies, right? He has a heart attack.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about, if you look at a lot of people who are whistleblowers or, people who have information, they always die a few ways. So they said he had a heart attack and died.
Heart attack's another belter, okay? Because people can believe it. As long as you're of a certain age, people will buy heart attack, okay?
Well, yeah. And the thing is, too, so if you look at ways that a lot of victims or whistleblowers die, so they either drowned or they, have a heart attack. Here's the thing about heart attacks, cardiac arrest. Here's the thing. There's declassified CIA documents to where they had something called a heart attack gun.
Correct.
So they had a heart attack gun where it shoots a dart, dissipates in your body like ice, like melted ice, causes cardiac arrest, and you fall over and die. So there's no issue point.
And what decade was this invented, Mav?
Oh, this is during the Cold War. So they disclosed this years ago.
It's crazy.
So the fact that they have that back then shows you what they have now, right? When you're talking about cardiac arrest and all these other things. So it's pretty odd how a lot of people just die from cardiac arrest or drowning, hit by car.
Let's not forget the old pneumonia. Okay. Can someone in the side chat remind me what the poison is that you use that gives people pneumonia? Big homies got hit by it twice. And funnily enough,
cyanide.
if you type in Diddy, right, and pneumonia, it's quite interesting, the rabbit hole of how many people around Diddy have died of pneumonia. And it is exactly, what was the cyanide? Yeah, cyanide, if it's ingested, it will kill a lot of people through it developing into pneumonia. How freaking scary is that? How freaking scary is that?
Right. Let me grab my charger real quick so my computer doesn't
Yeah,
die.
do your thing, mate. Do your thing. I just want to say to everybody, thank you for being here this evening. Make sure you like and subscribe. My links are down in the description below. We'll be going for another little while, so don't go anywhere, of course. And tomorrow night, I am live with the Paranormal Files, going into Satanism and his experiences with that, and his entire journey on YouTube to becoming one of the OGs, in my opinion. So stay tuned for all of that good stuff. Yeah, man, this is honestly, I'm quite impressed with your level of understanding of the cabal, as I call them, bro, right? Like the bloodlines, the secret families, whatever you want to call it. To me, they are all the cabal. And the rituals, the occults. The one thing, imagine we've all had that one friend that's got everything and is a nightmare to buy presents for at Christmas, all this kind of stuff, right? So if we've experienced difficulty with people that have everything at our level, at the level of the billionaires, lost knowledge and power is the ultimate possession, right? And the occult, having something that us peasants have been convinced isn't real, is this allure. And the occult and the ritual side of all of this, I've interviewed more survivors and horrific individuals through encrypted networks, bro. And the things that you hear about ritual abuse and the weaponization of disassociated identity and DID, it's fracturing someone's mind to the point where a legal system couldn't even possibly put you in a court case when you have a medical file this thick that says you've got 4 people living inside your brain, and you're trying to convince people that politicians have ritualistically abused you or whatever. The after effect, the mental health, the splitting of the mind is by design. And people often say to me, well, why would these people allow these people to live? They're trophies. Like these, the people that are wandering around fragmented and screaming for help are the trophies. You want one of the biggest trophies that's out there right now? I can't remember her name. It's the lady who was exposing Diddy, and she's been on the run for ages. And people say that it's Tupac's daughter.
Oh yeah, Ali Carter.
Ali Carter, thank you.
Yeah.
Prime example. Okay, if we were to go down the most tinfoil hat theories, you kill her father, right? You then ritualistically abuse her. You then turn her into an uncredible witness because of the atrocities she's trying to explain that she's seen. And you keep her living in a state of fear, running for her life. If that ain't the top tier, evil, psychopathic overlord trophy of the year, I don't know what is. It really is.
That's a great point, because here's the thing. This is why a lot of people ask, well, why do certain victims just get away and just disclose all this information? Here's why. Like you said, they're trophies for one.
Yep.
But if you make them seem crazy and nobody believes them, that's your best mouthpiece to detour everybody from the actual truth. Because if you think about it,
I can go one step better than you. It shows all the other people who are going through the abuse that there ain't anything that you can say to make people believe you.
Exactly. And if you go to Ali Carter's, down her whole, testimony about what happened with Diddy and what happened at Playboy Mansion,
yep,
she discloses that there's tunnels under Playboy Mansion, which has been verified. Okay.
Yep, 100%,
so the fact that Diddy only lived 2 minutes away from the Playboy Mansion is very odd. And the fact that she says the Getty Museum has tons of tunnels under it as well. Now,
we spoke to a lady who's a friend of ours who is very wealthy out in Canada, and there's a Soho club on the same street as like one of the big 5-star mega rich people hotels. And there's a tunnel from the hotel to the Soho Club. And she's like, oh yeah, we just take the tunnel. We would just take the tunnel to the club. We wouldn't, have to walk across the street or anything. We would just take the tunnel. And I'm sitting there listening to her like, because if we're talking about that level of normality, when somebody who I'm friends with has access to weird tunnels that I wouldn't have access to, we have to have then this understanding of how mainstream tunnels are for the rich and famous, and how much that can be weaponized as a distraction from actual real evil tunnels. Because it'd be quite easy, because, for example, the Playboy tunnels, I'm pretty sure they were added to the building blueprints in the 60s or 70s to accommodate all of the, not Nicolas Cage,
a lot of celebrities around that time.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you. Yeah, that would go underground, have a little bit of the old sassafras, and then head back home again.
Right.
It's weird, sure, but there is definitely evil tunnels, and I'm telling you now, you just got to ask. Look at Elon Musk's company, the Boring Company. That's but again, you got to understand, this is a man who probably when he was 14 figured out all the businesses he needed to get to Mars. Okay, so the first one is digging tunnels, right, and being able to go underground. Right. And you just got to say to yourself, that's a dude who built all that himself. So if we've got an evil government, right, government, endless money, right, endless money, they're going to have the same things. And what better way of conducting the world than from a place that no one knows exists, and underground, over the ice wall, whatever you want to call it, wherever you want to think these people control us from, a freaking 2-bedroom flat above a bank in Switzerland, whatever. These decisions are made behind closed doors, but these decisions, do you not feel were made 1,000 years ago and are just all being played out in a grand scheme?
Well, here's the thing, and going to people like Elon and Trump and how you said way back and whatnot.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets weird. And you got to look at text, you got to look at books, you got to look at historical data. Okay. Yep. How is it that Elon was predicted in a book called Project Mars?
Okay.
Now, this book was written by a very particular person who has to do with NASA. Wernher von Braun was in Operation Paperclip, who was brought over from Nazi Germany. He's one of the founders of NASA. Okay. He writes a book called Project Mars. And in this book, he states a person by the name of Elon will take humanity to an exploration to Mars to colonize Mars.
Freaking aliens, bro. That's some like, oh, by the way, I'm an alien and I've written a book and I've left some tidbits on you and I'm going back to planet Zargon now. Enjoy, humans. It has to be. Wow. It has to be, right?
I always pose the question, right? You don't get the right answers unless you ask the right questions. I asked the question, how? What are the chances that a person named Elon is now a billionaire? Because anybody can be named Elon. Great. How many people are named Elon, become billionaires, and then have SpaceX created to go to Mars? The chances of that are astronomical. Okay.
Right. If I was a betting man and we had to work out the odds for that, the maths are getting out of control a little bit, 100%.
Yeah. So a lot of it is predictive programming. A lot of it has been predestined. A lot of this has been set in place a long time ago, right? Because if you look at even Trump, his son, I don't know if you know about the Ingersoll Lockwood books and whatnot. Ingersoll Lockwood wrote a couple books. One of them is called The Last President.
Okay.
In which is about a charismatic outsider who comes into power in the POTUS seat, okay? Lives on Fifth Avenue, breaks the system as we know it because he's so disruptive, because he's anti-establishment. Who does that sound like?
It sounds like, right, there's too many of these goddamn coincidences, Maverick, is what it sounds like.
That's why they call me the coincidence specialist.
I'm just saying, like, it's one thing when you hear one coincidence a week, but when you hear them all lined up together in a short podcast, it's kind of like, how dumb are we? Like, how dumb are we really, bro?
Let's take it a step further, okay?
Please, yeah, let's do it.
There's another book called Baron Trump's Underground Marvelous Journey. Okay.
Right.
This is by the same author.
Okay.
Wrote in 1896 or 1893, one of those years. Now, in this book,
I heard about this. What was the name of the book again? Baron Trump.
Marvelous Underground Journey. Okay. In this book, once again, you have a character named Baron Trump who goes through a portal to an underground world. That sounds like some type of time travel, because in this book, he depicts that he goes underground and
the 1893 classic. Damn.
There you go. 1893. Damn. Here's the thing. He has a mentor named Don in the book. What are the chances?
What are the chances of your wife being in a music video 10 years before you're assassinated, with the date of the music video, the date of your assassination behind you in the music video? Erica, okay? Yeah. I got some questions, Erica, okay? You're a lovely lady, but there's some coincidences that we need to have a chat about. Okay, listen, Nicolas Cage and Snake Eyes, come on. Come on. That's and then you throw in Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Adventure. We are stupid, Maverick. I'm sorry. We have never been so dumb. All right. Like when you see it all laid out in front of you, like imagine we get to the end of the world and we're all sitting in the big court of the universe. And they're like, oh, so you didn't know that this was going on, human race. You didn't know, right? Well, we put a warning out called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Adventure in 1893. We thought we were going to make it pretty obvious what was coming. That's what it feels like, bro. Because this is Twilight Zone Matrix madness that we're looking at.
Well, here's the thing too, and I always take it a step further, because people are like, well, what if he just named his son after the book? Well, here's the thing. If you look at these books, right, Baron Trump and The Last President, how is it that in The Last President, when he chooses his cabinet, he has a cabinet member named Pence?
Okay.
That's in the book too.
Yeah. Okay. Also, why does he use a freaking, like a Sharpie the size of his arm when he signs stuff? Okay. I don't think anyone who uses a Sharpie that size reads a lot of books. I'm just saying. Okay. There's something that correlates between private library and size of Sharpie that you sign documents with. But again, if there was only one of these, bro, I'd understand. But then you bring in the Lincoln JFK theory about how Lincoln's associate was called Kennedy, and Kennedy's associate was called Lincoln, and there's all those crazy coincidences. Surely that's a once every 10,000 year coincidence. You can't have that and Baron Trump and all the other conspiracies, and for us to just sit here and be like, yeah, it's just all coincidence, right?
Yeah, it's just asking the right questions. The fact that JFK died in a car named Lincoln as well.
Right? Oh, dude, listen. There's so many, bro. And there's so many.
They were both succeeded by two Southerners.
Yep.
Johnson.
Yep. Dave Johnson, that's right. Yeah. And there was something to do with there was about 8 or 9 points anyway. And it just goes on. And see, when we start talking, if this was anything else other than a conspiracy conversation, we'd be using this as evidence.
Yeah. Okay. And again, going back to circumstantial evidence, this is how we convict people in the court of law. So when we have enough circumstantial evidence and or eyewitness, that's how we make convictions.
Okay.
All of this is just evidence. And so it works in the court of law, but it doesn't work in these other instances. That doesn't make sense.
Okay. No, I'm bringing something else to the table here. I just wanted to point something out. Okay. So we're talking about Baron Trump, right? He is definitely going into Slytherin. Okay. The Sorting Hat, he's going straight. If he does not look like he is a time traveler and knows about it, okay, I don't know what. Look at this guy. Okay, he himself is the poster child for conspiracy. Look up conspiracy in the dictionary. That's what you'll see right there.
So get this. I'm really about to blow your mind. So if you look at Baron Trump, look at the guy, look at the kid in the book. It looks exactly alike him.
Right, hang on. I'm gonna. So we've got the newer version of the book art cover. I'm going to try and find the original art cover.
Yeah, find that.
In fact, it's pretty old and it's like a little kid in a boat, right? Do you know what? We don't even need to bring in, because I'll show you. This is what the original art looks like. It's very 1893, right? So
Okay,
if anything, he kind of looks. You know what I'm saying? Baron Trump's, but I'm telling you, bro, there is something going on in that face. He is like, ha ha ha, silly mortals. I know I'm an interdimensional being that pulls all the strings.
Zoom in on that picture. Zoom in on, go back to the old picture.
Yeah.
Zoom in on that picture.
Actually, now that you say that, the eyebrows.
Look at that.
That actually does look. Dude, hang on a second.
Like
No. Just
come on.
Hang on, let me just move this here.
That's him.
Dude.
That's him. Look at that. Look at Shane's shaped face.
Dude. That is actually a little bit bonkers. Yeah, okay. So I'm all right. I'm okay if it turns out that Baron Trump is an interdimensional being that is secretly ruling the world. I would be okay with that as a plot twist. I'd be okay with that. Okay, because do you know why? Finally, someone's in charge that isn't a geriatric. Finally, someone's in charge who hasn't got the life expectancy of about 9 years when they're actually in power. And I tell you something, man. Whenever you ever in your life had a really important decision to make, Maverick, and went and found your closest guy in his late 70s or early 80s to ask him a question about the modern world, why is it only in politics and world leaders do we put faith in the elderly?
Great question. I think there should be a cap when it comes to seats in Congress, the POTUS seat, because I mean your cognitive abilities decline, whatnot, and I think that your decision making declines as well, and then you may not have the same care for humanity because you're close to checking out yourself.
Yep. And that's not to mention that in a lot of countries they make you resit your driving test at a certain age just to make sure you're competent enough. But I'm just saying, if you have to reset a driving test to make sure you're competent, I just honestly, the whole the guy that was in power before Trump, what the hell was his name? Biden. That was one of, as a non-American looking into America, that was one of the most fascinating wildlife shows ever, was watching that man on live television. I literally watched him stand and walk around in a circle and then have to be led off stage by a member of the CIA because the man was just away with the fairies. And he's making decisions.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, he wasn't, that wasn't Joe Biden. I hope you know that, right?
Okay, so we're going to go with, I think that was just an old dude who'd been given too many zaps of his wife's forget-me-not zapper and just jellified. It could also be clone. I'm also down for any other reason.
Well, I mean, let's go down that rabbit hole real quick, because clones are a real thing. Yeah, tell me why, if human cloning isn't real, why is there an international law banning human cloning? Just saying, right?
Well, there's also a law against capturing and fishing for the Loch Ness Monster. Okay.
Yeah. And also,
which makes me believe even more that there is a Loch Ness Monster. Okay, because that was government money spent.
And Bigfoot as well. So Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
Right.
There's also a law against killing him too. It's actually illegal.
Because we can't have anything that's going to go against known science, right? We can't mess up those 2,000 years of conditioning that we've got done on mankind. We can't be thinking about the fairies and the pixies, bro. If
exactly.
People knew about
and Joe Biden, if you just A and B from when he was vice president with Obama to the time that we had him, they're two different people. Like anybody with two eyes, Stevie Wonder can see this, okay? The fact that your chin changes, your eye color changes, your nose and ears, all these things change. Your signature changes, and that could be some type of nuance, and sometimes your signature does change or whatever. It completely changed.
Oh yeah, once they took down those two towers, they realized we can convince these people of anything. Right. Do you know what I mean? I agree.
And the fact that the thing is this too, this has been predicted as well. Two things. So with Joe Biden, obviously, just look at him. It could be speculative, right? Okay, fine. How was it that in the Illuminati card game that this was predicted as well? In that game, everything has been predicted over the last 30 plus years. 9/11, COVID, you name it. So if you look at the Illuminati card game, they have a card called the imposter card.
Okay.
Where it's two people on the card looking just like Joe Biden. And you have one figure who has a mask on. He has a different eye color with white hair. Looks just like Joe Biden. They call that imposter card, and he's dressed in a suit. So that's one. Then there's another, telltale sign that I like to reference. There was a movie in the early 90s. Again, going back to the movies. They always put in the movies. There's a movie called Dave where the president dies, and then they put an imposter in place not to cause chaos. And he's an imposter, and he's acting like the president. He looks like him and whatnot. But again, look up a movie called Dave. I believe it was in 92, 93, 94, around that time. But again, predictive programming. They put these things in front of us, and then they let it happen. Okay, so look, 9/11.
What?
That card game came out in 1995 by Steven Jackson. Okay?
What did you say? What did you say? The imposter, was that what you said their card was called?
Yes, the imposter card. Look up Illuminati card game.
Oh, I'm on it. Oh, I'm on it. Don't worry. I just couldn't remember what I got too sucked into that one. It's not showing me. Oh, there it is. There. Oh my God.
What up? Here you go.
It's too good.
There he is. Come on.
It's too good. It's too good.
And look at the mask. Look at the mask coming off, and it's an imposter card. Like,
yeah.
Can you not?
I mean, I'll be honest. There's quite a lot of incredibly sus cards. Okay.
Yeah.
In this game.
I mean, that game has predicted everything that happened in the last 30+ years.
Even this is like 90% Donald Trump's face.
For sure. And you have a bullet going by his face. So when it says,
and you have a bullet going by his face.
Now read the caption on what that card says.
At any time, any place, our snipers could. Okay, nah. Come on. And it can drop you. Have a nice day. Play this card on your own turn before drawing any plots. I mean,
come on, snipers. That's not Donald Trump with a bullet going by his face. Come on, they put these things in front of us before they happen.
Dude, here's a side by side.
There you go.
Frick.
Telling you guys, this is how the occult work.
This is a banger. This is an absolute. My whole thing that I'm going to be ranting about at Christmas dinner this year is this. So on Christmas Day, at some point there'll be a guy in Scotland going, "Look, it's a bullet going past his head." Just know that, and that's you that's caused this. You've caused that. Big shout out to Maverick from the Christmas dinner. But that's a bit mad. That's a bit mad, mate.
Yeah. I mean, that card game, man, that's an incredible game.
Do you know what's even more amazing? Let's break this down. This is the tweet of the era. It's a photograph with a little bit of text below it, right? There was no social media back then. We're talking about an internetless world. So cards, board games, VHSs, all this kind of stuff. That's what we're staring at here, bro. In 2025, this is just a tweet.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Wow.
Great point. I mean, that's our form of media back in the day, right? So board games and whatnot.
Get past that. I can't get past that.
I mean, this is why The Simpsons can predict everything.
Oh no, we're saving that for another time. We're not starting to peel off the Simpsons label tonight, bro. Like, this is not the way I thought this conversation was going to go today. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's nice to meet somebody else on YouTube who's been down the rabbit holes and has got to these points themselves. I'm usually the one explaining a lot of this stuff to people, and
for sure. I mean, we'll give more credence to that. I mean, the fact that Matt Groening, the owner of and the writer of The Simpsons, is a 33-degree Mason. There's that.
Well, see, I often say this, right? When it comes to the Freemasons' business model, and how if you were to set up an evil lodge, the way that the Freemasons is set up, it becomes very open to corruptibility, right? So if you imagine you've got a bunch of evil friends, you come up through Freemasonry together, you decide that when one of you hits the master Mason level and is able to actually launch and start his own his own lodge, right? You have to bring a certain amount of members with you. You just bring all your evil friends, bosh, evil lodge, okay? And that's where we've seen the split when the boats left for America. When America was founded, that was when the opportunity was seized to go from the Scottish and the Yorkshire rites of Freemasonry into what we now see as the American Freemasonry and more of the Illuminati New World Order shenanigans, shall we say. But that's one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to Freemasonry is people don't understand how corruptible it is. So trust me, there's just as many lodges that have got like 75-year-old dudes that fall asleep during meetings and no evilness is happening and they do their charity work and all the rest of it. But when you realize how corruptible it is, and then when you apply what we've already discussed, the attraction to things that you cannot obtain, secret societies, the occults, the allure of you scrub my back, I'll scrub your back when it comes to people like us joining the Freemasons and then getting into banking and getting favoritism because you're a member and all this. There's multifacets to it, but it's so open to corruptibility and it's so alluring to those who have everything. So it's 100% relevant. 100%.
For sure. I mean, when you go into secret societies, you have the Skull and Bones, you have the Freemasons, you have Knights Templar. I mean, there's several secret societies that operate and on many different levels to carry out many different tasks.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Freemasons in particular, yeah, there is levels to where nothing's going on, right? And I've talked to Freemasons and whatnot, and some of them just join just to get connections and financial reasons and whatnot. But that, again, higher up you go, the air up there just gets thinner, right? So when you're dealing in, you know, the 33 level degree, it's a whole different ball game when they have rituals and all this other stuff versus, you know, just having the lower tier meetings and the lodges and whatnot. That is just a distraction. That's a red herring to throw people off the path.
Okay. Yeah, I could see, to me, the Freemasons, even Skull and Bones, they're no longer secret societies. They're just societies with secrets, you know?
Right.
And the whole Freemasonry from the history of it all is fascinating enough. And you know what? That's probably a conversation for another night, Mav. But there's so much more that I understand now that we can be having conversations about, bro. Because you know you do have a vast knowledge, and I can help expand and totally ruin your faith that's left in humanity on our next conversation, mate. Because I'm 7 or 8 years deep in exposing human transporters, people that take kids and put them on the dark web and do horrible things, disrupting their money, to taking their websites down, all of it. And there seems to be an unlimited supply of individuals who want to prey on children that goes through every facet of life, every facet of government, every facet of fame. And I cannot quite understand why it's still so heavily ignored, no matter how often you stick it in people's faces. And the conclusion that I came up to is, it's like, you know, when you put your hand above a candle, Maverick, at some point your brain pulls your hand away. It's the conversational version of that. Okay. And if you want to test this out, just walk into the next party you go and say, who wants to talk about pedophiles? And see how quickly no one wants to talk to you at that party. It's one of those subjects, man. And there's lots that will tie in with everything that you're finding, the reasons why. And there's a lot of conversations, evidence have come from conversations of survivors that I can help fill bits in for you. But I have to say, right, as a first introductory conversation, Maverick, this has been freaking awesome. It really has. I think we've really, like, you kind of blew my mind a little bit. I did not expect for this to go the way that it did, and it's just been awesome. It really has. Like, your knowledge is great, the journey that you're on is great, the points that you're giving attention to, awesome. And all the praise to you, mate. To all of your community members that have come over, thank you very much. What can people expect from the Maverick approach, bro? What is coming next? Where can people, all your links are down in the description, but what is cooking for you next? What is next, bro?
Yeah, just doubling down on the Maverick Approach podcast. Everybody can go subscribe there, links below. That's my page right there. We have a new episode dropping today, actually, so you guys can enjoy that. If you're in America, you can binge on that for your Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
Yes, I do have a book called Survival for a Society Collapse. So you can check that out. I'm doing a part 2 to that book coming out very soon. Be more in depth on how to get preparedness, getting ready for the new financial system, because I'm heavy into blockchain and whatnot, what's to come about in that. And yeah, so look out for that book, part 2 of that.
Sweet.
But you can grab my book there. And then, yeah, just follow me on all socials for everything else.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, listen, if you're in America right now, okay, happy Thanksgiving. Don't quite know what it means, but I know you all eat turkeys nowadays. And stuff, right? You all eat turkeys and stuff. Okay. I just want to say the designer of this border has snuck in some awfully psychedelic looking mushrooms on the border here. I don't know what these mushrooms have got to do with Thanksgiving, right? But we'll just throw some of them in. So yeah, if that applies to you, happy Thanksgiving. All right. There you go. There's a thing that people celebrate. So Maverick, thanks again for being here. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to the Shaun Attwood channel. Thank you to all of you watching at home. Without you guys, we're just two people on a Zoom call talking to no one. So you are the true people who deserve all of our praise. So thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you all in the next one. And from me, Ron Swanson, as always, be safe out there, guys. Peace. Thank you. Bye.